Elon Musk has amassed a fortune as his concept of sustainable interplanetary travel has garnered widespread acceptance. His success has grown to the point that Russia, a nation whose planetary project has struggled since the disintegration of the Soviet Union, wants to compete with him and maybe even defeat Musk at his own game. So what is Russia's goal, and will it outperform Elon Musk and SpaceX? Welcome to Future Today. We'll discuss how Russia is trying to copy SpaceX and Elon Musk. Before we do, subscribe to our channel to get updated with everything on future technology, Elon Musk, or SpaceX. When it comes to space exploration, Russia is recognized as one of the industry's pioneers. Almost everything was done by the Soviets, including transporting the first man and woman into space and conducting a multi-crew space voyage through Voskhod 1. On the other hand, SpaceX is aiming to catch up to Russia's long-held superiority in space technology by launching its reusable rockets. The Soyuz program is a Russian attempt to launch a nuclear-powered spaceship to Venus and Jupiter. The Russian space agency ROSCOSMOS said that its Space Tug, a spacecraft that carries humans or technology from one orbit to another, would embark on this interplanetary trip in 2030. Alexander Bloshenko, Roscosmos's executive director for long-term projects and science, stated that the Russian Academy of Sciences and Roscosmos are calculating the flight's ballistics and payload. He also said that the mission might take up to 50 months to complete, and although this may seem to be a lengthy time, the typical duration for a voyage of this magnitude would be slashed in half thanks to the secret ingredient that Russia plans to include in its spaceships: nuclear power. The spacecraft's energy module, called Zeus, is effectively a transportable nuclear power plant that is supposed to provide enough ability to drive the spaceship and hefty payload into deep space. While the United States has only launched one nuclear reactor into space, Russia has launched up to 30 nuclear reactors. The Zeus module would take it a step further by including a 500-kilowatt nuclear reactor that would enable spaceships to be driven from one planet to the next. A nuclear reactor and an electric rocket engine are combined in the Zeus module. Ion or plasma engines are alternate names for electric propulsion systems that heat and accelerate ionized gas to produce a thrust-generating jet. Ion or plasma engines are alternate names for electric propulsion systems that heat and accelerate ionized gas to produce a thrust-generating jet. Electric engines are more efficient than conventional liquid or solid propellant rockets when assessed per unit of expended propellant mass. The Zeus mission will begin on the Moon, where a spacecraft will split from the Transport and Energy Module, or TUG, before continuing to Venus. It will transfer another spacecraft and execute a gravity assist maneuver before arriving at Jupiter. There are various advantages to nuclear power engines. They can exist in the solar system's frigid, dark areas without sunlight. If successful, the TUG will be the first type in space, enabling massive goods to be transported far into space. The Zeus nuclear reactor, for example, is expected to endure 10 to 12 years. Furthermore, they can push spaceships to distant planets in a shorter time. While the nuclear power engines that Russia plans to employ offer significant advantages, they might also be very hazardous. Only particular forms of fuel, such as highly enriched uranium, can sustain severe temperatures, and they are not always the safest to use. They may be so dangerous that the United States has banned the use of highly enriched uranium to propel things into space if a mission can be accomplished using alternative nuclear fuel or non-nuclear power sources. Why should Russia's space program take note of SpaceX's success? Russia and the US have not always viewed each other as adversaries in space. Following the disintegration of the Soviet Union, collaboration on crewed space missions between the two countries exploded. Russian cosmonauts were among the crews of US space shuttles that went to the Russian space station Mir. However, because of SpaceX's achievement, the United States is no longer reliant on Russia. It restarted crewed spaceflight with American spacecraft after almost a decade of depending on Russian assistance to reach the International Space Station. This might signal the end of the era of space collaboration between Moscow and Washington. Perhaps this is one of Russia's primary motivations for interplanetary travel interest. The Russian space program is famous for sending the first man into space in 1961 and launching the first satellite 4 years earlier, and its accomplishments are a source of national pride. The Russian Space Agency has made a lot of money transporting people. A Soyuz seat costs NASA roughly $80 million. Now suppose SpaceX takes on all US astronauts. In that case, annual losses might reach more than $200 million, a significant loss for ROSCOSMOS's budget of roughly $2 billion. While President Vladimir Putin is not a fan of interplanetary travel, he understands such a program's military and geopolitical ramifications. However, it has lately suffered a series of setbacks, most notably the loss of pricey spacecraft and satellites in recent years. And with the advent of private firms such as SpaceX, which aspires to colonize Mars, Russia risks being left far behind. As a result, it's possible that the primary reason Russia is working on interplanetary travel for its citizens is to retain its position in international space research. Pure competitiveness might also be a factor. Roscosmos head DMITRY ROCOZIN joked in 2014 that if Russia didn't exist, the US would have to transport its personnel to the ISS via trampoline, a reference to the fact that the US has had to depend on Russian spacecraft to send men into space since 2011. SpaceX successfully sent 2 NASA astronauts into American soil 6 years later into space. Musk retorted that the trampoline was operational and an inside joke with Russia. ROCOZIN was enraged by this and retorted by claiming that when Russia's allies, the United States, eventually succeeded in conducting a successful test on their spacecraft, they mocked Russia. ROCOZIN stated how their nation was the first to launch a man into space. Russia would have had to fund a $400 million annual budget deficit if the US did not pay for transportation to the ISS, which is more than the rocket and launch procedure cost. Russia's space program will be severely hampered as a result of this. This is because, although Moscow intends to create its space station to replace the ISS, it will do so without the ISS's most valued achievement, the precious experience of collaboration. A return to countries going alone in space would be a step backward, harkening back to the 1960s space competition. So, although Russia remains a superpower, we believe it falls far behind SpaceX in terms of interplanetary flight. So it was another potential obstacle for SpaceX in their stranglehold on space exploration. Tensions between Russia and the United States have existed since the Cold War. And as Stephen Walker, author of Beyond, a book on the first human flight, puts out, things may have gone differently in 1961 if the United States hadn't postponed Alan Shepard's mission after a test flight ran out of fuel half a second too early. Roscosmos has recognized the danger posed by SpaceX, which it had previously downplayed, and aims to reduce launch costs by 20% and reuse rocket components. On the other hand, Musk's firm is now ahead of the game and will also be challenging to catch. Most Russians think he would not be where he is now if not for government aid, including NASA's technical assistance and tens of billions in government subsidies. Having support and cash are less crucial than having dreams and enthusiasm. When everything else fails, Musk takes the lead. Musk's enthusiasm has done more to create SpaceX's leadership than any government assistance. The engineering and enterprise's desire may not seem as severe as Rogozin and Komarov's state concerns, but it certainly aids in propelling certain big things into space. This new rivalry in space exploration and flight may now be included in the bilateral relationship. Will Russia be able to compete with Elon Musk's SpaceX? And are Russia's lofty ambitions a danger to SpaceX? Let us know in the comment section below. That's all for now. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to get updated with everything on future technology, Elon Musk, or SpaceX. Thank you for watching.